On Wednesday night, the St. Louis Blues win their first ever game in a Stanley Cup Final to even out the series with the Boston Bruins at 1 game apiece. I'm Sierra Goodwill here with Meg Petralia at TD Garden. Now, the Blues showed that they're a resilient bunch, and Game 1 was not indicative of how the series is going to go. And now a lot of people talked about the Bruins having the series locked up after Game 1, ourselves included, and it's time to bite our words a little bit.
A little bit, Sierra, and because I didn't sense that the Blues would come out in Game 2 and take it to Boston. And more to the point, the Bruins really didn't respond here on Wednesday night. And that was the big theme coming out of the locker room after the 3-2 overtime loss. The Bruins were outworked, they were out-executed, and they just never got into a rhythm. Losing Matt Grzelcyk to a boarding hit by Oscar Sundqvist is certainly a big key to what happened in this game number 2. Late in the first period, they were not the same team defensively. They couldn't get to loose pucks, but certainly the Blues made the loudest statement here on Wednesday night, and that was, we are here to stay. We're going to fight for it. And now they got the game that they wanted going back to St. Louis 1-1.
Yeah, and Cassidy told us post-game that a lot of the difference in this game is they didn't have as much space as they had in Game 1. He said part of that was self-inflicted. There wasn't as much hustle to lose pucks, but also credit to St. Louis and how they played, especially in that overtime period. The Blues maintained possession of the puck
Almost
pretty much
entirely.
the entire time. Yeah. And maybe some of that is due to fatigue with Grzelcyk out and the Bruins playing with just 5 defensemen.
And the Bruins' inability, and I love this, this is a hockey credo, simplify things. And the Bruins did not really do a good enough job here on Wednesday night, especially late in the game, of simplifying things and getting as many pucks as they possibly could on net. And they didn't close in on their opportunities. They had golden chances. Brad Marchand had 2 opportunities in the final 90 seconds. David Pastrnak all by himself between the circles. They couldn't finish, and the St. Louis Blues could.
And this Garden Report on Ice is brought to you by betonline.ag. Head to clnsmedia.com/win. Enter promo code CLNS50 for 50% cash back on your first deposit. And Brad Marchand said in the locker room after the game that he wasn't good in these first 2 games, and he said it'll come. So now that the series shifts to St. Louis, tied 1-1, a big swing, obviously a big difference than a 2-0 lead, where 90% of the time the team in the Stanley Cup Final who goes up 2-0 wins the series. So what do they need to do now in St. Louis to make sure they don't fall behind in this series?
Well, I'm going to go back to that old credo, that cliche, simplify things, and that's something that Torrey Krug alluded to. And he said after the game that sometimes we're a better team on the road because we're forced in to not trying to feed off the crowd and make the fancy play, which I think the Bruins were guilty of on suspect ice, to say the least, here at TD Garden on Wednesday night. They were trying to do too many things when conditions didn't call for it, and I think when you're on the road, you definitely go back to more fundamental hockey, and I think that's what we're going to look for Saturday night from the Bruins. Get pucks to shooting areas and shoot the puck. Don't try to make that second or third play. When you have a shot on goal, take it.
Well, CLNS is taking our Stanley Cup Final coverage out to St. Louis, so make sure to keep up with all of our coverage on clnsmedia.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel at CLNS Media.